So it's not as if we have 100 other tombs that have linen cloths that are of this nature. Certainly none bear the image of a body. In that sense, the shroud is absolutely unique. But the idea that linen cloths existed, oh my, I went to Turin recently. You could just go down the street from the cathedral and visit the Egyptian Museum. You can find linen cloths that are literally thousands of years older than the shroud. So, on that sense, there's no, like, I don't know, miracle, just that a linen cloth should be in existence from the time period of Jesus. And that dead body, along with it, the organic material, composed the linen. Of course, in Jesus's case, we have an exception because he didn't remain in death. He didn't decompose in contact for a very long time anyway with his dead body. And so, in that case, it's quite unique too.
Yeah, so it is something that had been used for centuries. Because the thing that comes to mind is the tilma with Our Lady of Guadalupe. It's an image that is imprinted on there. Obviously, this
Right.
is more like an icon style, and it was more like an image, but like it's on a it's on a rudimentary like kind of piece of garment that doesn't really last that long, and it has lasted longer. So that's not the miracle that we're looking at. The miracle we're looking at is
Right.
you just absolutely everything else. The fact that we now like historians all believe there's no historian that doesn't think Jesus existed, and we see all these images of people trying to depict what Christ may or may not have looked at based off historical data and da da da. But we know, we have an image of Jesus's face, and that's just it. Like
Mhm.
I mean, I can't quite articulate how amazing that is. And it's
Yeah.
we can go into detail, and I'm sure you will when you come over here on like there's the fact about the point 0.2 microns above the. I don't even know what that means. It's like the fact that it's not even on
Yeah,
the
exactly.
material. What is that? I mean, I'm going to be talking to someone tomorrow morning about quantum physics, so hopefully they'll help me come to understand it a bit more deeply. But I suppose because I'm talking to you and you're a priest and expert, and it's like I guess what does this mean? Not just for us Catholics and Christians, but what does this mean for the world? The fact that we have such a undeniable artifact that is also it's not just one thing. It's not like the blood of Christ in Corpus Christi. It's like okay, that's the blood in Christ. We can maybe, but this hits on so many different levels. What does it mean for the secular world as well as the faithful?
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of brings us back to Jesus's own question, which is, who do you say that I am? That's an open question. That's something each of us has to answer. And I think the shroud presents the person of Christ and what he did, especially in his dying and rising, that causes us to respond in freedom according to our wits, right? Like you have to make the best sense of it. And I think there isn't one response. Like I think some responses are better than others, more adequate, more appropriate, more fitting. And yet what I think is the value in the shroud is that it presents the question that Jesus presented. It occasions a a personal response. But I think you're right to say that it's at least bearing witness to the existence of this man. Look, even people like Yves Delage, who is agnostic, or Barry Schwartz, who was Jewish till his dying day, had no problem saying that the man of the shroud is Jesus of Nazareth, merely on empirical grounds, on historical grounds, on scientific grounds. And so I think they're right to make this kind of case from the preponderance of evidence, right? Isn't that how we speak in the courtroom? Okay, judge, I can't give you an absolute proof in a kind of philosophical or mathematical sense, but who can in any historical event, right? And so what I'm going to strive for is something different. I'm going to give a preponderance of evidence, legal proof, not philosophical proof. And I think that that kind of argument can be made. But that only gets you so far, right? That gets you that Jesus existed, that Jesus died, that he was buried. Okay, well, what about the proposition that Jesus rose from the dead, or that Jesus is the Messiah and the Son of God, a divine person in the flesh who now lives forever seated at the right hand of the Father? Whoa, these are grand claims that go beyond the mere existence of Jesus of Nazareth, right? And so I think we need to gather up all the evidence wherever it lies. And the Shroud presents a huge amount, but it stops short of, let's say, um, proof of the miraculous. In fact, I know you used this term just a moment ago, and I'm going to add a little nuance from my perspective. I try to be careful about, some people say that the shroud is a miracle, and it's kind of this ambiguous expression that I want to press into. Like, well, what exactly do you mean by that?